Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how to talk to your insurance adjusters. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from AttaBoyCowboy, and on this channel, we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. As some of you may be aware, I recently had a fire in one of the properties that we manage. So I wanted to give you some tips on how you should communicate with your insurance adjuster, because this is really important. Now, this is a very subjective science. Now, people think that when you file a claim, there's a cut and dry, schedule of how they pay for car accidents or fires or liability claims or whatever the case might be. It's not. It's very subjective. So your insurance adjuster has to get a feel for the situation, and they're going to figure out how exactly they want to handle the claim, how much they're going to pay, etc. Now, 90% of claims end up in litigation. Obviously, if you can avoid that, it's better for you, so you're not paying a percentage of your claim to your attorney. But oftentimes, the attorney may help you get more money than you may have gotten on your own. Now, me personally, I try to gauge the situation myself. I know exactly how much this property is going to cost to rehab. I'm going to give the insurance adjuster a chance to give me a bid. They call it a reserve, which is the amount they're going to pay, and see if it's fair. And if it's not, then I'll seek litigation. But if not, I try to handle it on my own. In most cases, you can handle these cases on your own. I think most people go to an attorney because they are not sure themselves or they get intimidated by the process. And really, it's not a big deal. Anybody can do it. All right, so I'm going to give you the 10 rules. So rule number 1, be cool. Okay, these are people just like you. It's someone just doing their job, and they obviously have a boss they have to answer to. And obviously, if you're not nice to them, they're not going to give you a fair shake. So be nice. Always be courteous. Even when you're in disagreement, agree to disagree. Okay, don't be disrespectful. And the adjusters will always take notes on your behavior. So if you act belligerent, or you raise your voice, or you use foul language or whatever, they're going to document that. It's going to go into your file, and whomever you deal with is going to say, hey, you know what? This person is not very nice. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So just be nice. It's human nature. It's always going to work in your best interest to be cool. Rule number 2, be a good listener. Don't be anxious to talk. Be anxious to listen. Let them talk to you. Gather as much information as you can. I've dealt with a lot of adjusters from all sorts of different cases I've had to deal with, and it's best to listen. Sometimes they'll start talking and it's something I really don't want to hear, but then as the conversation evolves, some really positive information will come out that's to my benefit. Had I cut them off or not listened to them, I wouldn't have been able to get to that part. So in one case, I'll give you an example. I was asking for $50,000, and the claims adjuster was saying, well, basically on these, we usually pay about $40,000. And then she went on and on and on. And then all of a sudden she's all, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to give you $52,000 because we saw this and that. She actually gave me more than what I was asking, and she brought up some additional information that I actually had not taken into account. So if I had cut her off or I had acted rude, that would have ended a completely different way. So definitely listen. Rule number 3, take good notes. Whenever you sit down to talk to your adjuster, get a notepad out and take notes on the conversation during or after the conversation. I also like to summarize it, put it in an email, and send it to the adjuster and say, hey, John, it was good talking to you today. Thank you for answering my questions regarding da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I appreciate you, being in agreement with this and that and that. And then I have a complete summary and I send it to them. If you ever have to go to court, that can be used in your favor. Because if they don't write back to rebuke what you wrote, it basically becomes factual. I've been to court on cases like this where the judge says, hey, you had a chance to rebuke this. If it wasn't correct, that you should have rebuked it, and you didn't. So it must be correct. So make a summary, send it to them, and keep good notes of all the dates, times, who you spoke to, and what you spoke about. That's really going to help you. If not for court, it'll also help you for your own history so that you remember in case that the adjuster tries to change something they said. You can say, hey, let me look at my notes here. Remember on September 9th, you said this and that, and today you're telling me that. And then they're humans, so they may forget, or they may just try to take something back. But if you have a written record of it, it makes that a little harder to do. Rule number 4, get prepared for your calls and do some research. I like to watch YouTube videos. I like to research topics on the internet and understand the process I'm going through so that I have knowledgeable questions to ask the adjuster. You also want to seem knowledgeable so that they're going to treat you with a lot more respect, and they're not going to try to undercut you as much if they think that you know what you're doing and you've been through this before. So try to seem as knowledgeable as possible, and for your own sake, so that you understand better what the adjuster is telling you. Rule number 5, create and save as much documentation as you can. I can't say this enough. You need to make a paper trail of everything. I'm going to give you an example. The house that just burned, the insurance adjuster came out and she immediately told me, hey, we're not going to pay for your laundry room, and we're not going to pay for your downstairs bedroom. The bedroom was huge. It's about 400 square feet, so it's a big chunk of my house. And I asked why. She says, because they look like they were illegally built. I did not illegally build them. So I thought maybe someone did it before I bought the house, because the house is 110 years old. So then I asked the contractors who came out to bid the project, and they said, yeah, I think these rooms are illegal also. So the insurance will pay you for them, but they won't pay for upgrades. They call code upgrades, and they won't pay for depreciation. So basically I was going to lose money on them. First thing I did, I went to the city and I went to the county assessor's office. That's where you should go. And you're going to get the plans and the history of your house. You're going to get all the permits. You're going to get all the information on your property. That was actually really cool. The house is worth about 1.2 million. When I pulled the paperwork, I saw that whoever built the property paid $3,400 in 1908. So it's kind of cool reading through everything. But it also has diagrams of the floor plan. It says exactly how many bedrooms, chimneys, bathrooms, etc. It tells you everything that's on the property. That was very helpful because that helped confirm that that porch, the laundry room, and the bedroom were all legally built back in 1908. I think what happened over the years is the rest of the house was updated and those were not updated because they probably weren't as important, or who knows what the rationale behind was, what the previous owner was thinking. But basically they weren't updated, so they look old. So the adjuster assumed that they were illegally built. So that for me is going to be huge. It's going to probably add another $50,000 to $75,000 to my claim to be able to prove, hey, these are legal and they need to be insured just like the rest of the house. So that's something you can do. Gather information and get documentation as much as you can. Rule number 6, don't believe everything your adjuster tells you. Now, again, they're people just like you, so they make mistakes. They also have to deal with supervisors and with their legal department. So sometimes they'll give you an answer and then you might contest it. They might talk to their supervisor, they might talk to the legal department, they may come back with a totally different answer. So don't believe everything they tell you. Take it like a grain of salt. I wouldn't necessarily say they're being deceitful, but they may not have the correct information. So look at it that way. I'll give you an example. I spoke to my adjuster and I told her, hey, I've been doing construction for years. I can manage my house. I can rebuild it with other licensed contractors. So I would basically be the general contractor and I was going to subcontract. And she didn't like that idea. So she said, hey, if you do that, I'm going to back out 20% for profit off your claim. And basically what that is, let's say the claim comes out at 300,000 is what she believes the claim is worth. She would basically give me 240,000 because I'm managing it myself. Now, I think if it came out at 300, I could probably do it for 150. So obviously it's worth it for me to do it and use the additional money to do upgrades on the property, right? I own the property, I pay the insurance, why not benefit from it if I have to make a claim? But the insurance doesn't see it that way. She told me they would have to discount 20%. Now that is incorrect. I checked, I read their bylaws, and you can make profit off repairing your home. So that was one issue. That was how I got an extra 20% tacked onto my claim. The other issue is you may disagree on something and then she may go talk to her legal department, and the legal department may tell her to take a completely different route for what you had discussed previously. So remember, don't believe everything they tell you. Rule number 7, respond quickly. Don't waste time. Remember, time is money. So in my case, it's a rental property that burned. So basically every day that place is vacant, I'm losing money. Now the insurance that I have does cover rents, but it only covers 6 months of rent. And it actually doesn't cover my entire rental amount because the rents are so high here in Los Angeles. So I'm gonna lose money. So I don't wanna waste time. You need to make sure that you respond quickly. That's gonna kind of set the stage for them to reciprocate. They're gonna respond to you quickly. If you take a long time to respond, you're just wasting your own time. I'm gonna lose money on my rents. Another thing that's gonna happen is your adjuster is handling multiple claims. So if you're not real active, you're not responding quickly, they're gonna kind of put yours in the back burner and they're gonna work with the other people that are a little more proactive. So definitely respond quickly. Rule number 8, give deadlines. When I speak to my adjuster, she says, okay, I'm gonna get back to you. And I tell her, okay, I look forward to hearing back from you later today. Or if it's an email, I'll give her a day, 2 or 3 days. Usually I give her about 3 days. I say, hey, I look forward to hearing back from you before Wednesday if it's on Monday. You wanna set deadlines so that way they'll put you down on a calendar and they'll prioritize you. If you don't, again, they're gonna put you on the back burner. So don't do that to yourself. Make sure you set deadlines so you kind of set the stage that there's a sense of urgency, that this is important. You want your claim addressed and you want to get this resolved and out of your life. So set some deadline. Rule number 9, if you're not getting what you want and they're not responding to your calls, or you're getting blown off, or they're ignoring you, or not returning your phone calls, that's happened to me also, then you need to call the Department of Insurance. They're your ally. They can help you. You can file a complaint. I had a car accident and I was calling the adjuster and she would not call me back. I was calling like 5 times a day. I'd leave calls and she would call me, and when I'd answer, she wouldn't say anything. She would keep calling until she'd get my voicemail. Then she would say, hey, Ernesto, I'm calling you back and you're not answering. And she'll leave me a message. But it was totally insincere. She was not trying to get in contact with me. She was avoiding me. I talked to her supervisor. Her supervisor wasn't helping me either. So I filed a complaint with the Department of Insurance. Once I filed the complaint, they contacted the insurer, and within 2 days they contacted me and they actually raised the amount of money that I was requesting. So it's definitely in your favor to file a complaint if you need to. Don't do it right off the bat. Remember, that's going to keep something you want to keep in your back pocket. So you use it for extreme scenarios or when you're totally getting blown off. Rule number 10. Another way you can reach your adjuster if they're ignoring you or you're not getting anywhere with them is speak to their supervisor. Now, in my experience, 80% of the time, this is totally ineffective. The supervisor is going to say, hey, well, I have to stand by my employee, or the employee's following protocol, or whatever the case might be, and they're not going to be any assistance. But about 1 out of 5 times, they do help. They'll say, hey, you know what? Let me see what I could do about that. And they'll speak to them, and they'll come back, and they'll help you resolve it. Sometimes it does pay to talk to them. So I would definitely keep that as an option. If you have any other questions, please comment, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.